Hello there. Hello there. My name is Caleb Aaron, and I'm a star storyteller. So, what we have here is the October 2nd new moon, right? A new moon chart. But this new moon is no normal new moon. And why is that? Well, you can tell by looking at this. Right here, we've got this connection between the essentially south node, and it's right there, and then the new moon conjunction between the sun and the moon at essentially this 10-degree mark. So because it's so close, we are going to be experiencing solar eclipse energy, because this essential nodal axis is the sort of intersection between the sun and the moon and the earth. It's a very intense, globally significant and recognizable point and axis that is currently in the essential Libra Aries axis. So we've got Aries Libra opposition. The eclipses always move in opposition, so they're never not bringing forth that energy, in the same way that the ascendant and the descendant is supposedly representative of self and other. Who you are, what you're here to do, and how you're going to experience the relationships with other people, who you're partnering with. It's a level strip. It's like the Earth's strip here, if you will. So the nodal axes, though, they don't have that sort of reliable, consistent thing that we all see. For everybody's eclipse axis is very significant, but it's always floating. So for instance, for me, it's going between my kind of networks and groups in Cancer, that's where the south node is, towards this Capricorn, achievement, success, discipline. So yeah, like, it's been emotional because I met someone recently who I feel like is in alignment with my soul's progression on so many different levels. It's painful that I don't get to keep being around that energy that I feel like I'm supposed to be around. Like, my intuition is just, like, the grief around it is so strong, but I'm really trying to be the person that I can be in this situation and be honest and bold and loving and respectful as much as I possibly can. So it has been an intense couple weeks. Let's just say that. Eclipses are associated with intensity, fatalistic stuff. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Because this is an eclipse, right? The sun, the light of the sun is going to be obstructed. It's going to be obstructed. Now, because the obstruction of the light is associated with, like, not receiving the light, and the light is what powers us. Obviously, the actual amount of time that the sun is eclipsed has an effect on the earth as far as temperatures and things like that, of course, and light received, but it's a relatively short period. So this is, to me, more representative of sort of an intense time where that light is going to be obstructed. To add on to further complicate why this is such a gnarly eclipse as far as the story, we look to the condition of the sun. The sun is in Libra, the place of its detriment, fall, if you will. Again, I don't, it's technically referred to as fall, not detriment. Leo is the place of rulership. Opposite Leo, Aquarius, would be its detriment. Aries, the place of exaltation, Libra would be its fall. So in order for the sun, the individual sun, to shine brightly and boldly and confidently, to do its thing, it now has to do it in the constellation of Libra, which is all about social, partnership, balance, fairness, justice. Again, it's a Venus-ruled sign, so again, Venus wants beauty, wants pleasure, wants romance, wants love, wants connection. But because the sun is in Libra, and it doesn't particularly want to be there at all, it would prefer to be in other places, in order to shine its light, it already is more challenging, allegedly, there. Have Libra people, because there's, like, let's just say roughly 1/12 of the population is a Libra. That's not the case, but because there's actually more summer births, I think. There's probably more Leos than other signs, if the evidence is accurate. There is a sense that people can do a lot of great stuff with a challenge, but this is a challenge just in and of itself, to have the sun in Libra. Now you add on the eclipse, so some of the light that's already struggling, right? Yeah, it's the days are getting shorter. Of course the sun doesn't like it in Libra. Like, it gets to be the sun and do its thing and shine its light less. So, well, I mean, ultimately, in the ultimate sense, the sun's light is the sun's light. It's just our tilt of the Earth axis, which is providing us that. And it does provide the beautiful seasons. We're definitely moving into fall. It's just a challenging time for the sun. It's a time of challenge. Now, what rules over that? I've already mentioned it's ruled over by Venus in Scorpio. Well, guess what? Venus in Scorpio is another challenging one. Because the Scorpion energy, the stinger, the intense warrior, calculating, reptile-y kind of significations. I know it's an insect, a pest, if you will. So when the goddess of love is there, she'd rather be in Libra. She would rather be in this social sign, but she's not. She's moving into the heart of Scorpio. It's a very intense form of love. It wants love in the deepest sense. It's poisonous, it's powerful, it's intense. It's very fucking intense. What rules over that? I didn't mean to zoom out that much. What rules over that intense, challenged Venus? The warrior lover, the passionate, fixated, obsessive lover. Sometimes I think that can get spun out as. Scorpio has an obsessive quality to it, a fixated quality. Can fixation be used to do amazing things? Yes. Can focus and drive and emotional intensity cause people to do amazing things? Yes. And terrible things. Let's do amazing things. Now, this Venus in Scorpio is ruled over by Mars. Could it be possible that we're getting another challenging aspect? Yes, it very much can be. Mars is in Cancer. Mars is in its fall. Venus is in its fall. The sun is in its fall. Are you fucking kidding me? You can't make this stuff up. Sun in Libra, fall. Venus in Scorpio. Technically, that's its detriment, not its fall. Technically, it's its detriment. So, the fall. So it's like not getting what it needs, not getting something easily, like it needs to be given support. Mars in Cancer, though, is in its fall. Yeah, it's just challenging. It's just another challenging. So Mars is the planet of aggression and war, and it's in the sign that is most associated with comfort and nurturing and containment and motherly vibes. So it's just like a fiery warrior energy coming in through there. The crab is very like skittish, and I mean, it's just something else. And then from there, that Mars in Cancer is ruled over by the moon in Libra conjunct the sun. Now, the moon in Libra is not a planet that is, you know, in any sort of like detrimental condition, right? But since this is a solar eclipse, that moon is again blocking the light of the sun. So it's because the neutral moon that's kind of how I describe the Libra moon. Sometimes it's so neutral. It's like an inanimate object sometimes. It's just taking in the data and just sort of like, what should I say here? What should be said here? It's not bad. Mercury is very close. It's all the stuff is essentially within like a degree. There's a message, there's an idea around fairness, justice, and balance that is, I just feel like it's harsh. I just feel like this is a harsh frickin' new moon. Now, the irony, though, of this, as we sort of see that intersection here between the sun and the moon and Mercury and Lilith, again, another injustice sort of signification. It's just laying it on thick. There's the eclipse axis, which is why since it's close enough to that's why the eclipse is happening in the first place, because of the line of the sun, earth, and the moon, because of that perspective. It's just something serious. Everybody has Libra in a different part of their birth chart, if they know their birth time, or maybe you have planets in and around there that can sort of, you can try to personalize it and explore. Again, I say do it if inspired. I say do it if it feels good, if it's helping you understand yourself and explore the world. Awesome. If you're using it in a fatalistic sense and it's causing stress, give it up. This is just a way to spend your time and hopefully to learn a little bit about yourself and to hear ideas and stories from other people on the planet dealing with it. That is being squared. All of that clusterfuck, excuse my French, is being squared by this Mars. Now, I don't like a Mars in Cancer square. I don't fucking like it. It's not good to have a square, but at least because the moon is in charge of Cancer, it's like maybe the energy that is there is really, really present. So it's like the obstacle is not invisible. Like, I can say that it's like the challenge or the obstacle or the problem is like present and will be dealt with, and it just doesn't feel like a good thing. It feels like boundary violation. It feels like obstruction of like nurturing. I just don't like it at all. I just don't like it as a challenging thing. It's just not comfortable. That's the story that this one tells for me. So what do you do? How do you deal with that? Well, again, Venus wants to make things cuddly and lovely and beautiful, and she wants to do it in a very intense, deep sort of way when she's in Scorpio. And, you know, Mars rules over Scorpio, so Venus and Mars are making a lovely trine. If you look at this trine here, Saturn's also... I know based on, like, the positioning of the signs, we've got a lot of intense fuckery. But because there is this helpful trine that's so integral between the two malefic planets, Saturn and Mars, and this benefic planet Venus, and Mars is sort of the point that's uniting it most strongly here, with the actual luminaries themselves, it's giving me this sense of like there is a beautiful thing happening. So in my own personal life, right, this is my house of partnerships, this is me communicating, and this is sort of my friendship groups. There's something very, very beautiful and very, very intense and very, very powerful and emotionally supportive happening. Yeah, and I gotta say, hanging out with some friends the other day was a very lovely thing, and it was good to be present with them and to be in community with them, especially as I sort of feel like, you know, my heart is calling for someone. You know, it's nice to have people around. It's nice to be present with them and to hear their stories, and having friends call me and talk on the phone for hours, like my friend Caitlin. You know, it's like it's just been good to not be alone, and that is certainly something that I'm grateful for. If you don't have access to those sort of communal experiences, what I can say is try to be the change. Like, try to be the change. Try to show up for people. They'll remember, maybe, well, not now, maybe, I don't know. Just, I mean, we're here, right? We should love. It's just very intense. Like, it's just a very intense sort of moment. It is. But yeah, if Saturn wants to be helpful, right? It's ruled over by Jupiter and Gemini, which is like nice. Intentions maybe. Just a lot. Just maybe a lot of things to explore, a lot of options, a lot of socializations. Yeah. I'm trying to keep it more general and keep some of my stuff out of it. Again, like this little minor trine between the outer planets, Pluto's last little moments in Capricorn for the rest of our lives, because it's such a slow moving planet. Uranus as well is getting closer to the end of Taurus, it'll still be there for some time. Neptune also similarly almost out of Pisces. Like this arrangement is, it's a very interesting thing that's been present for a while. These super outer planets, they move so slow, so it's some like, it's beyond even death. It's beyond, it's so huge, but it's helpful, and it's feminine. It's a feminine form of help. It's a societal change for everyone, consistently demanding shift. Like I think we all feel the pulse of that as we consume different content and hear people groaning about the need for change. But I feel like it's helpful and maybe a bit intense. All three of them are retrograde, all three of those planets, right? So it's like their constant retrograde nature is why it takes them forever to move through signs, because their orbit around the sun, it just takes hundreds of years sometimes in the case of Pluto. Oh, yeah. It's quite something. There is a little bit of a square going between Neptune and Jupiter. A little bit. Not a huge one. It's not as strong. Like you can tell this one's pretty strong. That one's like, eh. But it's there. It's something there to just sort of, in the same way that the moon could see Mars, and at least the problem could be interfaced. Of course, the sun is, because it's an eclipse, the moon is going to be visible. Like, we can see the moon. So normally you can't see the moon whenever the sun is. So there's this part of me that's like, you're gonna be able to know, you're gonna see it. You're gonna experience it. You're gonna know. You're gonna get the message. It's gonna happen. It's gonna manifest in this sort of tough, challenging way, but it's like it's gonna happen. That's sort of what I'm feeling about that tension. So for me, this point is particularly around money, resources, finances, and stuff like that. And it's like, what do I need to do here? What is the right move here? What's the way to approach this? Something around, since it's North Node, it's like going for things. Like I am applying for a lot of work. I'm basically marketing myself as honestly and professionally as I can in all my various modalities. Like I really am trying, but how will that affect you? How will it affect the collective? Just looking at the shapes, it's a very intense emotional time, a challenging emotional time. Also, that groaning for changes to affect everyone on a deep level past even our own lives. Like that's there. The square Mars is just not, Mars in Cancer. The guy that I was talking about earlier, who I'm having the feelings for, I was like, purification is, I think, the highest expression of this one, because let's just heat up the water. If we're gonna be boiling something inside of our gut, like let's use it to just remove everything that needs to go. This is my like friendships and my networks. I'm just not afraid to show up and just be hot, be fiery, be direct, be assertive. Like, of course, we want to make sure that we're being smart and sensitive and generous and loving as much as possible, and fair. I think Libra in its high expression is fair. Sometimes I think it's a bit too competitive and too concerned a little bit with other people. I think that's one of the more shadowy qualities that so, because again, Libra is the bridge between Virgo and Scorpio. So if you really start to like honor Virgo, which is like, this is how we do this correctly, I'm only gonna talk about the thing that I actually know how to do because I fucking know. And then Scorpio is like, I'm doing this because I feel it so deeply, nothing's gonna get in my way. I'll die before I don't have this. Libra's like, okay. All right, you intense detail guy. All right, you intense warrior passion flow creature. How do we deal with this? How do we find the balance between these two? I definitely get this sort of oscillating air quality with Libra. So yeah, for me right now, when I'm thinking about in my finances, it's like I'm being honest about what I need. I'm being honest about what things cost. I'm only spending money that like I have to spend. Like I'm being honest with my parents about the situation that I'm in, because I am in the situation where it's like things are not working out. I've applied to a lot of places. I had an interview today. Like I'm talking about myself again, but I'm talking to myself unless you guys interact with me or book me, you know. I can talk about you and your life if you're there, but right now it's me. Right now it's me looking at this grand watery trine and the minor trine and the square and wishing good things, even if the dragon does plan to attack again. This time attacking the sun directly, whereas the previous one it attacked the moon, which is going to essentially blot out a little bit of the sun's light with our own shadow. The shadow is caused by the moon this time, whereas on lunar eclipse it's caused by the earth, or even the thing where we stand upon. If you think about it and then try to make a metaphor out of it, it's a fertile imaginative playground. That's what happens when I look at this stuff. Oh, Venus in Scorpio, please choose to love in a way that is collective as much as possible. Remember that you too have your offspring that you carry on your scorpion back. Can you rise to the level of true community? Can you go so deep with your own emotional state to find how it fits in with all the other emotional states that exist? That is a deep plunge, Venus, but I invite you to take it. Mars, I know there's seagulls coming for you. I know there's fishermen coming for you. I know that there's trash soiling your beach. I know that there's so many things you gotta do to stay alive and fed and safe. I get it. And it's hard to do all of these things. It's intense. I want you to get the support you want, not at the expense of others. I know that the cycle of nature and life and death is so challenging for so many. I know it is. Moon in Libra blocking out the sun's light. Mercury sending a message. What do you want me to say? How can it be fair? How can it be truly balanced in a world that just isn't interested in permanence? Man, this is a tricky one. I want you to be well. I want you to honor what arises to the best of your ability, whatever that looks like for you. It's different for each of us. Holy crap, this one's tough, y'all. Jupiter, detriment, fall, detriment. Mercury and the moon, more neutral. I tend to like a Mercury in Libra, probably because my Mercury's in Aries. And I like it. But Venus is in fall. Saturn is more neutral again. Saturn is more neutral in Pisces, which is nice. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So yeah, according to the modern rulership scheme, I don't know. I can see why people want Pluto to be a sort of Scorpio thing because of the Hades and the coldness and the distance. But I think that the coldness and distance can, I don't know, y'all. You know, sometimes Pluto can be closer to the Earth than Neptune. Like, it can be within the orbit of Neptune because of the way that the orbit is. So it can actually come within the orbit of Neptune, which is kind of nice. For me, it's something beautiful. Yeah, Neptune and Pisces may make sense because Pisces are these like transcendent, dreamy, boundaryless things. I understand, but a part of me is like, no, like we already have those. We already have if Saturn is death, if Saturn is the ultimate boundary of like the physical, then Neptune should be transcending beyond it. Uranus should be transcending beyond it. Very, like there's social like generations, and then there's socials that are like centuries. We're starting to get into centuries. So yeah, maybe I certainly think that like our ancestors and their practices have effects that last centuries. So I'm fine with giving those planets. But if we're doing like very personal stuff, it's like, I don't know. The rulership scheme doesn't make as much sense to me in that regard because it's so slow. It's so slow. I think because of how, well, I mean, people are all somewhat similar, but also special and unique at the same time. Since the distance planets weren't even visible to the ancient peoples, they didn't know they existed. But our lives and the qualities of our lives are still very similar to our ancestors in the most survival sense. Yeah, I'm not willing to distance myself so much from the ancients, the ancient humans. I don't think we're that distant. I think that we do have Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto now. I think we do. Those are things that they didn't have. Electrical power, space flight, like digital music, like social media, essential astral projection / FaceTime, like things are different. Those are things that we have now, and those are the types of things that I'm going to start to associate with the outer planets as a storyteller, to honor what I know to be true of human history and the life that I have been allowed to live. I've been forced to live. I've been thrust into by the choices of my parents. It's something intense. Anyways, love, light, and snakes bite. Hope you guys have a decent eclipse. I do indeed.